Order! Questions to the Prime Minister. Felicity Lindsay.
Number 1, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in the House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Mr. Speaker, we have recently seen our policemen being forced to take action against the meagre amount this government is paying them. Would the Prime Minister care to explain why these people, who daily put their lives on the line to protect the citizens of this country, have been forced to take action against the poor way in which this government has treated them?
Mr. Speaker, this government does value dearly the contribution that our police make to the welfare of our citizens. In fact, since this government came to power, crime is down and the number of policemen on the streets has increased dramatically, thus creating more jobs. Yes, there was a protest, but I have met and will continue to meet with policing officials to discuss the level of their pay, and will reach an agreement that will be in their best interest.
Daniel Kime. Mr. Speaker, when this government came to power, they claimed they would alleviate the public burden. Only 1 year ago, the Prime Minister himself announced that he will not raise taxes, when, in reality, they were increased via the back door. And this year, it has been announced in the budget that the government will have to raise taxes by a further £8 billion in order to prevent the economy from slowing down. Mr. Speaker, when will the Prime Minister stop relying on the British public's money to bail this country out of his government's poor handling?
Mr. Speaker, is the honourable gentleman opposite once again using the tabloids as his only source of information, taking into account the lack of communication that exists in his own party? Mr. Speaker, this government is committed to ensuring that the downturn on the world economy does not have a major effect on the citizens of this country. And in terms of the economy, I have but one thing to say. Pot, kettle, Black Wednesday! Order!
Mr. Speaker, how can this government possibly question others on competence? Del Boy's latest dodgy deal was to allow McDonald's to start dishing out degrees for being able to serve a customer. Isn't this nothing more than an attempt by Labour to mask their incompetence in dealing with our declining educational system?
Mr. Speaker, is the honourable gentleman opposite once again failing to do things considering he was educated at Eton? The honourable gentleman opposite needs to start taking into account the views and the backgrounds of the majority that he still needs educating about himself. Mr. Speaker, why doesn't the honourable gentleman opposite spend more time on dealing with the evident problems? Charlotte Perry.
Mr. Speaker, in my constituency of East Thanet, the local hospital is being shut down. No. Naturally, this is putting the lives of my constituents at risk, as the nearest hospital is 50 miles away. No. Will the Prime Minister meet with myself and my constituents to thrash out a reasonable solution to this problem?
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, I thank my honourable friend for highlighting her concerns. Unlike previous and, dare I say it, future Conservative governments, this government is committed to ensuring that free healthcare is available for all citizens, and not just for the few that can afford private healthcare. I pledge to the House that I will meet with my honourable friend and her constituents to discuss the matter in further detail.
Alex Baines. Mr. Speaker, it was announced recently that the government will be giving £1.7 billion of taxpayers' money to London Underground to save the private maintenance firm Metronet. Will the Prime Minister be willing to tell us just why the public's money is being used to save private firms instead of aiding its deteriorating welfare?
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the concern about Metronet, but I've discussed this at length with the Chancellor, who assures me that it will have limited net impact on public finance, since Metronet's borrowing was already part of the government's balance sheet. Besides, Mr. Speaker, was it not the Tory government who squandered public finance on private firms? Or has the past once again been rewritten by a party that cannot recognise any form of a common agenda? Tiffany Murphy.
Mr. Speaker, for 8 years our government have cowered away from using our special relationship with America into making a binding agreement to lower its exorbitant carbon emissions. Now the election of President is approaching. Will the Prime Minister summon the courage to face up to the fact of the main cause of our growing global predicament?
Mr. Speaker, it appears the Honourable Lady opposite has cowered away herself from researching our recent agreements with America. In fact, the White House's current incumbent has committed to ensuring that by 2020, the United States' annual carbon emissions will be reduced by 30%. Whilst I appreciate the Honourable Lady's concern, We are not oblivious to this growing crisis, and I will indeed continue to discuss further reductions when welcoming the new occupants into office. Time.